So you all know that I love to cook, and I know that you love it when I share recipe videos. So over the past week or so, I have just been filming some of the things that I've been cooking for me and my husband and my dad who comes over for dinner. So I'm going to share with you 5 different recipes in this video. I made a pork tenderloin with caramelized onions. For a side dish, I made butternut squash with spinach and orzo. It was delicious. My husband made smash burgers on a new flat top grill accessory outside. It is going to blow your mind. It literally blew mine. These were the best burgers I have ever had in my life. I'm going to show you how I made homemade ranch dressing and used it on several different things throughout the week. And then to top it off one night, we were dying for one of our favorite cookies. It's a cookie that has cashews and toffee and chocolate chips and oatmeal. So easy to make, and we just stuff our faces. They are so good. So let's just get into the video and all the recipes, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So let's start out the video with pork tenderloin with caramelized onions. This is so incredibly simple. It cooks in about 30 minutes max, and it is a showstopper. The taste, the flavor that comes out of these caramelized onions when you put it on that pork tenderloin is amazing. When this pork tenderloin is finished and it's covered in these onions, I like to put it on a nice looking serving tray and bring it out to the table. It doesn't look like much. It really doesn't because it's covered in these onions, but oh my goodness, the taste is amazing. So all you have to do is chop up about 2 yellow onions, just pretty thin slices, and melt 2 to 3 pats of butter in a medium heat skillet. You don't want it super hot. Add your onions into the skillet. Make sure they're all kind of broken up and not in huge chunks. And you're just going to let them sit. You're going to let them warm. It needs to be on a lowish heat. You don't want anything crazy high. You're not trying to brown your onions. You just want to slowly saute the onions until they become translucent. They start to caramelize. Just leave the onions at the side to do their thing. Then take your pork tenderloin, make sure to pat it dry. This is super important. You don't want a wet, watery pork tenderloin. And then you want to season it really well with salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Season one side and then turn it over and make sure to equally season the other side. And if you have a really big pork tenderloin, you may want to also season the sides. Sometimes just doing it on the top and bottom doesn't get the whole pork tenderloin properly seasoned. Then in a Dutch oven or a heavy bottom skillet that does have a lid, you want to melt a couple tablespoons of butter and then drop your pork tenderloin in. You want to make sure to kind of sear it on both sides, maybe 1 to 2 minutes max, until you get this really pretty brown crust on each side. Put the lid on your Dutch oven and let it just lightly simmer for about 10 minutes. That's it, just lightly simmer. Let me check back on my onions over here. Look, they're starting to get soft. They're getting a little bit of brownness on them. Oh my goodness, and they smell so good. I'm going to turn the heat on super, super low. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and more freshly cracked black pepper. I love black pepper. And the key is a little bit of brown sugar. I didn't measure this, y'all. I'm just kind of measuring everything by hand. Maybe 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And you can see when I start to toss that around, the brown sugar melts in the butter and it starts to infuse itself into these sweet onions. And when everything is melted and your onions are absolutely beautiful and you can just smell them and you want to dive right into them, turn the heat off on your onions and just let them sit. And look at that bubbly goodness. Oh my. I have to use a meat thermometer. I want to make sure that the thickest part of my pork tenderloin is about 150. Now, on a pork tenderloin, the edges are thinner, so it's going to be a little bit warmer in there. I love this meat thermometer because I can turn it in any direction and it will kind of flip around and show me the temperature. So add your caramelized onions on top of that beautiful pork tenderloin. Just set them right on top. Make sure you get all the goodness out of the pan and just completely cover your pork tenderloin with these golden caramelized onions. Oh, it just smells so good. Pop it back into the oven for just a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and those onions will start to melt even more into the pork tenderloin. Check it for temperature one more time. Put it on a beautiful serving platter, and then you have dinner. Look at this sweet, wonderful goodness. You can serve it with lots of different side dishes, and I have a really great idea for you. I just made mashed potatoes and sweet carrots for dinner that night. Super simple, but delicious. So let me show you how my husband made the smash burgers. And smash burgers really are all about the accessories. You have to have the proper things to make an excellent smash burger. So my husband just has your typical Weber gas grill that has the grill grates inside. Well, on Amazon, he found an insert that is specifically made to go in a Weber grill. It's a flat top griddle insert. So basically it turned his Weber grill into sort of like a Blackstone idea without having to buy a Blackstone itself. So you just measure your grill. This insert, the flat top, comes in all different kinds of sizes. It is made for Weber and it just drops right in, and it is made to do smash burgers, hibachi, anything that you would do on a flat top griddle. So then he bought a Cuisinart brand smash burger kit. So in that kit is a press that is a must to make proper smash burgers. It has a spatula with a beveled edge. This is also key to make smash burgers. It came with a little seasoning can with big sprinkling holes in the top. This is also super critical because smash burgers cook so fast, you don't have time to do salt and pepper and seasonings. So you mix up all your seasonings in here and you can just grab it and put it all over your burgers. And the kit also came with pre-cut pieces of, it's like wax paper. This is key. You need wax paper with your smasher. So to make the proper smash burger, you take your ground beef, my husband likes 80-20 blend, and you portion it out into 1/4 pound balls. Now don't squish the balls compact, just, 4 times, bit, just so that you have a round shape, but it's not pressed real hard together. So get everything you need, make sure that your flat top griddle is hot, take all your accessories outside. We put bacon on our smash burgers and cheese. So we had everything ready to go. So this is going to happen super, super quick. Put your piece of wax paper on top of the ball of beef and then press it with this smash burger press. Press it all the way down. Make sure it is totally flat, and then you can pull off the piece of wax paper and use it on the next ball of ground beef. My husband was able to make 4 different burgers with just one little piece of wax paper. Then you want to take a silicone brush and put regular mustard on top of your burgers. Now, if you don't like mustard, my husband doesn't even like mustard. This just becomes flavor. It is seasoning. It is essential to make a perfect smash burger. So smear a little bit of this all over the top of your burgers. Take your seasoning can, which you've already put in here, salt, pepper, a little bit of onion powder, some garlic powder, really whatever seasonings suit you, and then sprinkle it on top of your burgers. And because you brushed them with mustard, which is a little bit wet, it will help to make your seasonings stick to the smash burgers. Then after your smash burgers have been on there for maybe a minute and a minute and a half at most, you want to take this spatula. And the reason this spatula is so critical is because of this beveled edge, and it is super strong. It is not going to bend under pressure, and you are going to get up underneath each of your smash burgers and flip them over and listen to this sound. Woo! When my husband started flipping these burgers, we were like, wow! We were so excited. Flip all of your burgers over, let them sit for about another minute, put your cheese, your bacon, whatever you want on top, and then get them off the flat top with a spatula and serve them on some buns. You are just, let me just tell you, these smash burgers are incredible. incredible. So throughout all these recipes, if I'm using any special kitchen tools or appliances or certain things that I think you need, I will list my favorites down in the description box. Then a great side dish that you can make with the pork tenderloin, you can make it with chicken, you can make it with steak, you can make it with anything, is roasted butternut squash, spinach, and orzo. There's a little parmesan cheese in this dish. It whips up in no time and it is so good. So take your butternut squash. You do not have to peel it, just cut it in half and then start dicing up little cubes, kind of bite-sized chunks. These are not going to get smaller as they roast, so get them the size that you want them to be able to easily eat them. Lay your butternut squash out on a baking sheet. I just kind of eyeballed some extra virgin olive oil. I seasoned it with freshly cracked black pepper and more kosher salt. Give it a really good toss and spread them out on the pan. You want an even layer. You don't want your butternut squash stacked up. And now you want to put your butternut squash in a preheated oven, 400 degrees, and roast it for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want to boil 1 cup of orzo. Orzo is pasta. It looks like rice, but it is just pasta. You drop it into boiling water that is lightly salted and let it go for about 9 minutes. Drain it really well and set it to the side. Then you want to heat up a skillet, add a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and drop in about 3 cups of fresh spinach. I just bought my spinach at the grocery store. It's already washed. It's ready to go. Make sure that your skillet is pretty hot when you put your spinach in because you want to wilt down the spinach. It's going to cook off a lot of that water and moisture that spinach typically puts off. Just let it go. It happens pretty quick. It'll start to sizzle and it'll just start to shrink down. So you'll think, oh my goodness, this is a lot of spinach. But by the time it wilts down, you have just a little bit of spinach. I mean, you can see here, as I'm stirring it, it is getting smaller and smaller. The leaves start to turn a really dark green and you can start to smell it. And that's how you know your spinach is wilting. I seasoned it with a little bit of onion powder, some garlic powder, some fresh thyme. I like to squish the thyme in my fingers before I drop it in. Keep stirring it around. Just make sure all the spinach is covered in your seasonings. Look how small it's getting. I basically just have a little bit of spinach now. My butternut squash is finished. Look how caramelized and beautiful and brown. It smells nutty. Oh my goodness, so yummy. Add your butternut squash into the skillet with your spinach that is still wilting. It's still cooking. It's on a medium heat at this point. Drop all your squash in there, then add your orzo. Now I cooked 1 cup of orzo, but when you cook it, it kind of fluffs up. I had a lot of orzo. I ended up adding about 3/4 of what was in my pan, and then toss all of your ingredients around really well. Make sure that the squash and the spinach and the orzo were all combined. I added in about 2 handfuls of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And to be honest here, y'all, I wish that I had reserved about a 1/4 cup of my pasta water so that I could have added it to the orzo at this point. I did add some more extra virgin olive oil because I felt like my pasta was a little bit dry. You just kind of have to eyeball it and get it to your liking. But look at this. It was the most incredible side dish. I felt like I was eating super healthy. I was getting my veggies in. And on this particular night, I had it with more sweet carrots, some grilled chicken, and it was a great dinner, light and really healthy. Look at my plate. Not super fancy, but everybody loved it. When I need ranch dressing, I love to make my own recipe. It is so simple. I made ranch this week and put it on top of a buffalo chicken salad. We had grilled chicken one night and just kind of used it as a dipping sauce. I had another form of salad for lunch one day, and of course I used my homemade ranch. We grilled chicken one night and I marinated my chicken in the ranch dressing. There's just so many uses for ranch dressing. You can never go wrong. I always have some in my fridge. So in a small mixing bowl, add 1/2 a cup of cold buttermilk, 1/2 of a cup of sour cream. It's kind of hard to do this without making a mess. I don't know how I always get it all over my countertop. Add a 1/2 cup of real mayonnaise. Any brand will do. See what I mean? I just make a dang mess. 1 teaspoon of white vinegar, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried parsley, a half of a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half of a teaspoon of kosher salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of my homemade basil salt. I don't have a recipe for this right now, y'all. I'll share it later this year when I make more. And about a half a teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper. Take a whisk and just whip, 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 stir, stir, stir. And you really do need a whisk. A spoon will not break up all of those seasonings, but once you have it whisked together, look at that texture. It is wonderful ranch dressing. I love to store mine in a bottle that has a squeeze top. I'll link my favorite bottle in the description box along with everything I'm using in this video. I always have ranch dressing in my fridge just like this. And I love ranch dressing on a buffalo chicken salad with boiled eggs and bacon. It is so good. And one night we were dying for cookies. We just wanted something warm and gooey and sweet. And I've been making these cookies for, gosh, over 20 years. It's my favorite cookie recipe. They are incredible. You are going to want to eat them directly out of the oven. They are warm and gooey, but they have crispy edges. Then the next day, I love to pop my cookie in the microwave for just a couple seconds. My husband loves his cookies cold. So you just cannot go wrong with these cookies. They're incredible and so easy to make. In a small mixing bowl, you need a 1/4 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1 1/8 cup of all-purpose flour, a half of a teaspoon of baking powder, and a half of a teaspoon of baking soda. Also add a 1/4 teaspoon of regular table salt. Kind of mix it all together with a spoon. It doesn't have to be perfect, and just set it aside. In another large mixing bowl, you want to add 1 stick of room temperature butter, a half of a cup of regular granulated sugar, and a half of a cup of firmly packed brown sugar. Take an electric mixer. You want to get it to about this point. It's totally fine. It does not have to be completely incorporated because it's going to get better as we continue adding our other ingredients. Add 1 egg into your sugar butter mixture and a half of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Use some really good vanilla. And take your electric mixer and just beat it again. That egg and the vanilla, the moisture from it, will break down all the sugars in the butter and make it all incorporated. See how it starts to get gooey and sticky and liquidy. And then, oh, see, here we go. It's totally fine, just like this. Slowly add in all of your dry ingredients, everything that was in that flour mixture. So I'm going to add a little bit and then on a very low speed use my electric mixer and just mix it enough so that it starts to incorporate. You don't want to fully incorporate everything because we don't want to over mix our cookies. Just blend it enough that you have everything sort of incorporated and then add more of that flour mixture. I do this in basically 3 parts until everything in the flour mixture is fully incorporated into my batter. And I'm just beating this on a very slow speed just to kind of pull that flour into the cookie mixture. I'm going to add in the little last bit. There we go. And whip it together again, just one last time. So once I get to the point that, you know what, I need to scrape down this bowl, just take a spoon. You can even use a silicone spatula. Make sure that there's no flour remaining on the side of the bowl. Get it kind of pulled into that batter. Scrape your spoon for sure. And then one last whipping with your electric mixer just to make sure everything is incorporated. Then we're going to add in by hand a half a cup of cashews, 2 ounces of chopped up toffee bits. Make sure that you buy the toffee bits that has the chocolate on it and not just the toffee by itself. That was 1/4 cup. And then 3/4 cup of chocolate chips. You can use regular milk chocolate, you can use semi-sweet, really just whatever you have. Today I'm using semi-sweet. So that's 3/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You're going to stir these ingredients in by hand. You're gonna need a spoon. A silicone scraper is not gonna get it. And on a really big baking sheet, lay out your cookies. I like them to be kind of rustic looking. I don't form a ball. I just grab about, a couple tablespoons of batter and then use my finger to put it onto the baking sheet. You're going to continue to do this until your entire baking sheet is full of cookies. And when these cookies cook, they flatten, they spread out. So make sure that you leave a lot of room between your cookies. You want your cookies to be able to get crispy on the bottom and grow without sticking to the cookie beside them. Then bake your cookies in a preheated oven at 325 degrees for about 15 to 18 minutes. Just keep an eye on them. And when you pull them out of the oven, oh, the edges should be golden brown. The bottoms are slightly crispy. And I immediately get my cookies off of the baking sheet onto a wire rack to cool. I don't want them to cool on the baking sheet. I want them to cool on a wire rack. Look at this goodness. Thin, crispy, warm. You have crispies from the toffee, crunchy from the cookie, chocolate from the chocolate chips, and chew from the oatmeal. I love these cookies. So I hope that you saw something yummy and that looked delicious in the recipes that I just shared with you, and you want to make it now for your family. Have a good day. See you later.